Judas, you are angry.
My understanding is shaken. I know nothing, except he's the one true Messiah.
Luke Dimyan is the actor that tackled the role of Judas Iscariot on the faith-based series The Chosen. And today, we're talking with Luke about playing the controversial Bible figure and what we can expect in season 4.
Darkness is not the absence of light.
All right, hi Luke. I'm beyond excited to talk to you because I'm a big fan of The Chosen.
Oh, fantastic. That's good to hear.
Fan. Listen, by the way, I don't think I've watched one episode that I haven't cried.
Really?
I just cry at random points. I don't know what it is.
You know what? Hey, that's A-okay. My uncle is the same way. He will always tell me that it's hard for him to watch anything, any movies or anybody to watch anything with him because he'll just start crying.
It's so emotional. I feel like when I'm watching it and I'm seeing the Bible come to life, I just feel like a horrible person. Like, how could I do this to Jesus?
If it makes you feel better, I think he appreciates it. I think he appreciates your emotional commitment and how you feel.
I hope so. You're playing a very controversial figure. Judas Iscariot. Listen, did you have any hesitation in taking on this role?
No, mostly because I feel like these are the most interesting roles to play. As an actor, I look for these roles. I fight and I hope for these roles because these are the roles that can like really challenge you, that can help make you stand out as a performer, and that can really see what you're made of. So I appreciate and I relish the challenge. And
I love that. And so, how has the role challenged you? I mean,
the role has challenged me in more subtle ways than I think I realized, in more definite ways of how much I can do with the certain amount, because I realized the amazing thing about the show is it's very much like a TV show, and we have our main set of main characters, and Judas is much more of a supporting character. So his screen time and his scenes are very like set. They're not so definitive on the rest of the main plot. They kind of are set aside and singular. So it's been very interesting to try and take those singular moments and find that depth and find that those intricate character feelings and emotions to make him unique, to make him not just a one-dimensional character who's just interested in money or villainy in any sense. I'm really, really happy to just get a chance to just play and find this character's humanity.
I will say I'm happy at how Judas is portrayed, because we already know how this story is gonna end. Okay.
Yes, everyone does.
Everyone we know how it ends, right? And we have this idea in our heads that Judas is this horrible person. And I feel like the film kind of humanizes him, and you're just seeing that he's a good person. He has the best of intentions. And it's like we're forming an attachment to Judas because we're seeing his personality that we don't really get from just reading it in scripture. And I love that. I really love that. How did you prepare for the role of Judas?
How did I prepare? I kind of had an unfair advantage because growing up, I grew up Coptic Orthodox. I am Coptic Orthodox.
Okay.
So and my grandfather was a very prolific priest in our community. Everyone looked up to him, and he was like beloved by the entire community. But for me, he was my grandfather. And so a lot of that was just naturally at home. The Bible was one of the first like books and stories that I ever really delved into. I mean, I love the Old Testament. But when it came to the New Testament and reading the entire the Gospels and the forms, a few questions raised in my mind of how quickly we were to hate Judas when there's very little information about him. How he's supposed to be this greedy guy. When I would read it, I was like, how do they know he stole money from the purse? Like, do they know what he spent it on? Do they know like what he did? Because if he's already got the purse, how can he steal money from the own purse? Like, is he just like putting it in a second purse, and then they're just like, Oh, I guess he had 2 purses and he never spent them on anything. He must have been
Thieves
stealing.
have lots of purses. Okay,
Yeah,
Luke?
I guess. I mean, I also have lots of purses. I have a lot of wallets. My other grandfather on my
Right.
dad's side just gave me a bunch of wallets one time, and I was like, "What am I supposed to do with these?" And he's like, "They're for your future." And I'm like,
They're
"Great."
preparing you for the role of Judas is what you were supposed to do this.
Of course, that must have been it. But he
Right.
also gave the money back, and he was so like filled with regret that he killed himself. So I kept reading these minuscule parts that of what little we know of him,
Yeah.
basically written in hindsight, and I was just confused of why we hated this man so fervently just for this
One
for the
thing.
simple
Yeah,
task, the mistake that even he realized was a mistake of betraying Jesus.
Yes.
And it made me feel so bad. So I've had a lot of awareness of his character. I've always been focused on his character in any other story told of the Christ story that portrays Judas, anything that even amplifies Judas. I have a Judas graphic novel that I bought, written by Jeff Loveness, who also wrote the recent Ant-Man Quantumania movie.
Okay.
It's genuinely one of my favorite graphic novels, along with the stage show, The Last Days of Judas Iscariot, his characterization in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Jesus Christ Superstar. All of these iterations of him have always been so interesting to me,
Yeah.
because they've shown his humanity and they've shown the complications of a man who wants to do good
Yeah.
but is fated for failure. Like, it's so poetically sad and tragic in such a cosmic sense that no matter what this man does, no matter how hard he tries,
That's his fate.
he is doomed to failure and death.
He is.
And an entire culture and community cheers that on, are almost praying and glorifying his demise in forms that it's almost a beautiful pitying phrase to say it would have been better if he had never been born.
Mhm.
Like, that's so sad, and that's the nicest thing you can say to him.
It makes me I was talking to a friend of mine like a few weeks ago, and we were discussing Judas for something, and I've always felt very sad for Judas, because I know that we all make mistakes, right? We all do, and he instantly regretted it. And I'm like, do you think Judas is gonna get a second chance? Because he, I think, I mean, Lord, I'm not saying like telling you what to do, Lord, but I'm just saying, right? I feel like Judas was sorry. He made a mistake like we all have. And this one mistake defines him for the rest of his life. And I feel like just the thought of that alone drove him to suicide, as we know. But I want justice for Judas after this. Like, I need Judas to get a second chance.
Hey, honestly, that's the beautiful thing about hope, and that's all I think we can hope for the best for Judas and for others, and
Yes.
it's
For all the other Judases out there.
yes, in other people's lives, in our lives, because I think we all have Judases
We
in
do.
our lives
And
too.
some of us are Judases.
Exactly. And
You
so
know?
sometimes it's good, it's very important to forgive others, but
Mhm.
also I think it's very important to forgive yourself,
Yes.
because maybe there's a little bit of self-forgiveness too.
I think it's
Give
needed.
yourself that room to grow and be better.
I totally agree. So you got the script. Was Judas were you always supposed to play that role? Did you choose specifically to play Judas? Or
Ooh, I had no choice in that. I am a mere actor.
okay. So you
but,
were
I originally auditioned for The Chosen through sides. They do this to really gauge characters, but they'll give you the same set of sides.
okay.
So even if you're auditioning or they're looking for a different character, they'll give you the sides of the same character and just see what you do with it. And see
Gotcha.
what naturally comes out, which is an interesting technique that the casting department used. Thank you, Beverly Holloway. But I originally auditioned for The Chosen with Simon Peter sides, but
Okay.
then a year passed. I wasn't cast in the first season, But when they were going about the second season, they gave me Philip sides to audition for, and I auditioned twice for the role of Philip, and then they gave me Judas sides. And I auditioned for that, and they cast me for that, so they must have been happy with something I did.
They must have been happy, and we're happy. We're happy because I just love seeing this side of. In my mind, I was thinking, is it that I missed Judas in season 1? Maybe when he was in the background, but now that you're telling me you weren't even cast yet, because I thought to myself, why do I not remember seeing Judas in season 1? Okay, got it. I wasn't me.
we had more important people to do. We had to
listen,
stuff out.
right?
Yeah, we had to set up a story. Come on, man.
We had
can't
to
get everything.
we had to weave him into the story. I love it. Yes.
Jesus.
What
Before
has
you
been the most challenging part so far about playing the role of Judas?
Ooh. Ooh. I think the challenging part is forming relationships with the other characters.
Okay.
Because I think the whole crux of him is he's supposed to be disconnected
Right.
from everything. Like he just can't get the message. He's very blindsided by his need for a Messiah, this savior to come and save him and secure the state of Israel, to save the Hebrew nation from their informal occupation by the Roman Empire. There's this desperation in him that I feel in the script is very, very prominent. And so something that I find difficult that I like to do, that I usually like to use with my technique, is know how my character's relationship is with others and how they view me. Because I feel like you can learn a lot about a character depending on how others view him or how others see him or how others treat him. And so trying to find those moments, because again, the show has a lot to cover and a lot of time, and we can't just give everybody like huge talking scenes, because we've got stuff to cover, we got stuff to do. But it's a fun challenge to go in between scenes, check with a character that I'll have my first scene with them, and I'll be like, okay, you and I are talking. What's our history? How do we feel about each other in the group? Have we talked before? How are we? Are we close? Are we one of the closer ones, or are we more like distant from each other? Like,
do you have that conversation with the actor before you guys go into the role? Like, do you have that discussion?
I like to do
Okay.
that. I always like to double check. Nothing to like change the script,
Right.
but anything to like inform it, to try and see like, how do we feel? I've got, especially this season, I've had a few one-on-one scenes with a lot of characters that I hadn't had before. And so when we were rehearsing, I was like, let's do this. Let's go from the points and the here's, and how do we feel about each other? And it was very sweet. I honestly, if there's ever a highlight about this show, it's genuinely this amazing cast that I'm more than honored to be a part of, because every time that I go for support, or I don't even have to ask for it sometimes, there's immediately every single cast member is there they show up and they have my back and they're here to support, and we work so well together. I don't think there's anyone on our current cast that I couldn't even imagine having an issue with.
I am so happy to hear that. That brings me so much joy, because when I'm watching you guys on screen, we're in love with all of the characters. So, right? Like, you can't hate anyone, number one.
No.
You just imagine each of them being these amazing people. And so I need to know that in real life, this is what's going on. So this makes me happy.
Even the bad guys are some of the sweetest people you can know. Sean Sharma and Brandon Potter are genuinely some of the coolest guys I've ever met, and they're all so supportive. I'm the youngest of the cast, and so everyone has like this very sweet, protective nature over me sometimes, and they're so quick. Like if I'm ever having like trouble on something, they're very quick to like just catch me and like put me back out, and that's an amazing atmosphere to be around, especially in a film production. It's great. Oh, not to mention the crew. It's so funny. The crew is just as supportive and they're just as friendly. It's a constant state of appreciation.
Oh, that makes me. I'm pleased. I'm pleased. I'm pleased to hear that. Is there any? Tell me what's the day like on set? Like, what's the mood? What are people doing? What's happening?
I will say as lovely as everyone is, the set can be a little fun. I'll say fun.
Okay.
But mostly it's because of the environment. The environment can really beat us down. The hours we get up pretty early, especially for like long days, and so it can get pretty tiring. Which I think is why everyone is so lovely and so supportive, because we know that this is some hard work. There's going to be a lot of long walks with these flat sandals in the hot sun beating down on us. We've got a lot of extras, a lot of moving parts, and we have to move quickly, so there's not a lot of room for mistakes or changes or fluctuations to like, oh, what if my character did this? It's like, no, like we gotta focus and check and make sure that we're moving forward with the show to make sure that everybody can get to lunch on time,
right?
As well as like get to go home and rest before the next shooting day.
Okay.
Which is really gratifying in some ways, because even though the environment is really hard, the cast and crew work so hard and well together that it forms this camaraderie. And even if we're tired on set, even if it's an off day for one of us, the rest of us like understand and make sure to give whoever's having an off time some room, but also know that they're supported and that we'll get done with this. We'll knock it out today and we're gonna be okay. Like it's a very welcoming set, even during the harsher days.
That's awesome. I'm gonna go back to Judas for a minute. Is there anything you learned while, like, from reading the script, you learned about Judas that you didn't know? Was there anything that came as a surprise to you about the
Ooh, what? Let's see. I think maybe the specific I don't know if it's a town or a city of Iscariot that he's from, that I think derives from his last name Iscariot, because when I was going through it, there's a lot of not only is he a complicated character, but his history is complicated, because his entire legacy has been absolutely scraped clean and is gone. Like, they have ruined the legacy or history of this man completely. There is nothing known of him, to the point that there's just rumors.
Right.
There's so many rumors and ideas of what even the Iscariot name means. Like, why was he named Iscariot? Like,
they're creating a story for him since there's none.
Exactly. Like, there was, oh my goodness, I used to know this, but some people thought that Iscariot was based on the Latin term for assassin, which I forgot the exact term because it's been a while since I looked it up. But that's been disproven. But the fact that exists,
yeah,
there's the truth about him has been so warped in history completely to make him worse and hardened and hated that we don't even know who he truly is.
Yeah.
And that always makes me a little sad about
what is the one thing you'd want viewers to take away from Judas's story, from Judas's life, from what?
I think if there's one thing I'd like to take is that for people to realize that he's not a villain. Like, there are villains in the story. There's villains in that time of history, great villains who massacred people. You look at Julius Caesar, he created practically, even in his own, even in this show. But looking at Judas, he's not, I hope people realize that he's not a villain, but that he is a tragedy. He is a broken, sad story of failure, and we shouldn't shy away from that. Like, that failure is a reflection of what what we can be, what we are, what any of us are capable of. The only difference is, just because we fail, just because we think we commit this unspeakable act and we think our lives are over, it doesn't mean that we are so alone that we should be comfortable with leaving this world sooner than we're supposed to.
I love that.
We should. It's so hard because there's so many. Suicide is such a huge issue, not only in our country but very prevalent in countries during the holiday seasons, during harsh economic drops, booms, everything.
Lots of mental health issues happening and not being, addressed.
Recognized
and so,
or yes, or
so
taken care of. That's the tragedy, because Jesus came back, but Judas didn't.
yes, Jesus won.
Yes, Jesus was always going to win. That was
Right.
always the plan. But Judas is gone forever. Like, that's just sad. He wasn't even the only one who betrayed Jesus that night.
That is so sad. So, all right, I'm a little upset because season 4, I'm not gonna see season 4 anytime soon.
You're not?
Because no, so I'm in Jamaica, right? I'm learning that season 4 is coming back to theaters in Canada and the US.
Yes.
I'm international, so I'm not gonna see it, and it's not on streaming platforms anytime soon. They don't know when it's gonna be. So I'm rewatching season 3 because what else do I have?
Just come over. Come over. Buy a ticket. Come on down.
Right? I'm gonna have to fly over, watch it, come back. It's my only plan.
Have a little make a vacation of it. Come see Disneyland. Disney
I'm
World.
gonna have to do that just to watch this movie. And this is the season I want. This is where you really step into your character. This is when things get really. So for those of us who are
Get
not
a little spicy.
this is when you betray us. I'm kidding.
No. We have to wait a little bit more for that one. This is where the kick comes in. Where you eat the chicken wings. Ooh,
You're
what is
just
this?
like, right?
Extra paprika. Okay.
Your character really steps up in season 4. Is there anything you're anticipating for those of us who haven't seen it yet? Can you tease? We've seen the trailer, but can you tease anything about your character since we're gonna be surprised?
Oh, I think whatever love you have for me might start to dwindle away a bit. It might
a little bit, just a little bit.
a little bit. The Judas's character becomes very tenaciously loud and a bit his naivete is starting to show in places where he'd rather be more prominent and outspoken, and that comes to bite him in a lot of situations.
Okay.
But we'll start to see where his mindset and his awareness for the teacher he's followed starts to falter as he's begins to question not only himself but Jesus and the entire situation he's in.
All right, well, that's a good tease. Thank you
I hope
for
so.
chatting with us, Luke. I'm excited for season 4. I love your character.
Thank you.
Continue to do the Lord's work. I love it.
I will do my best. I'll try.
You do your best. It was so nice chatting with you.
It was so nice chatting with you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.